So I'm going to explain how to use your cast to graph. Okay, so I'm going to do the first one that we did in our examples. That's the one that I have here. I'm going to follow this one, and then I'm also going to do the one that we just did in the previous example. Okay, so go to your cast, girls, go menu, and you add a graph. This is going to bring me into documents. Remember that you always have a scratch pad. That's where I was working just before. I could also graph there, or you can go into documents. I'm going to go into documents. It doesn't make a difference, to be honest. Documents usually is when you're going to save them, and a scratch pad if you're going to erase them. So I could go into scratch pad, but because so that you can see it in the same instructions that I have already created, I'm going to add a graph. Perfect. And this comes up. So when I add a graph, this comes up. Then it says type the equation, and we have to type it in this form. I'm clarifying this one because there's another equation that you can use. For the time being, we're only working on slope and gradient y-intercept. Okay, so I'm going to say this is saying the function 1 of x. You're going to learn a little bit more of this when you do methods. Why is this the technology that is the terminology that they're using? But basically, this one you can use it that is like a function that is depending on x. We can say it also that at the moment we call this y. Okay, so I'm going to type my example of what we did before. So -3 take away, and I'm going to do my fraction, take away 7x, so 7x over 2, and you press enter, and you get your graph. Okay, just notice that you can move this, and you can move that label because it's a label, it's labeling your graph. Good, you can move it to wherever you want to move it. Now, what else can you do with that one? I want to go to our notes of what we were doing before. I think I have it here. We're going to check the work that we did before. The one that we were doing, that's this one. Okay. So you can see here that our graph, the graph that I have there, is very similar to this one. Oops, where is my cast? It's very similar to this one. There you go. It has a negative gradient that we can see here. It's the y-intercept is -3, what I have here. Okay, wonderful. I'm going to continue with my notes. Then what else can I do here? I have the graph that appears there. Now, if you want to have a grid, sometimes if you have exact values and you can count things, I'm going to show you how you go. So you go menu, view, grid line. So we go menu, view, oops, and grid. Okay, and I'm going to say that I want, you can say a dot grid, but I want a line grid in this case. And there you go. The grid will come up, so that will help you in a little way to do some of your calculations if you want to do that there, or if you want to check something. Let's say sometimes the graph that we have is too big and we cannot see it in what is coming up here. So if you want to zoom out, what can you do? So we're going to follow these steps. Menu, Windows Zoom, Zoom Fit. So menu, Windows Zoom. Look at all the options that you have here. So you can set up certain settings. If you want it to be certain amount, your grid, the one you want to see, you can use a box to zoom in or zoom out. You can zoom in or zoom out. We'll look what the standard is. You can have only the first quadrant, trigonometry data, other options. In this case, we suggest zoom fit is like show me so that all my graph fits there. And if you click there, you see that this has done a zoom out. And now I have this one from -45 to 39. The X hasn't changed, and I can see that I can see my graph more clearly there. Okay, or maybe it doesn't make so much difference there. Let's say that I want to return to the previous zoom that I had. So you just have to go and say doc. Oh, sorry, menu, Windows Zoom, Zoom Standard. Boom, and it zooms in to the same one that we had before, that it was from 667 to negative 667, and negative 10 to 10. Okay, wonderful. Let's see what other options we have here in this. Okay, now we're going to find our x-intercept. There is a way to do it here. The thing is that if you do it here, you don't get the exact answer. This is not in your instructions. I'm going to show you to you anyway, but because if you do it here in your graph, you don't get the exact answer, but I'm going to show you how you can do it. So you go and say, I'm recording a video. Go to your dad, I'm recording a video. So you say menu, analyze, 0. And you go from here to here. And you're saying that you're going to find a 0 in that window that I just created. And you see the answer that I have here. I'm going to move it. Is negative 0.857. That's what the value that I get here. But that's not exact. So we're going to find how to do it exact. So I'm going to continue following your instructions here. So to find the x-intercept in exact form, you have to go home. And this time you're going to add a graph. I just want to show you, a calculator, sorry. Here I have my graph. That's what you can do in documents. You cannot do this in a Scratchpad. And here I have my document, my calculator that I'm going to use. And we're going to type solve, or you can go menu, algebra, solve, and I'm going to type my equation. What is my equation? Negative 3 minus 7. Oh, I need to put the fraction form. 7x over 2, agree? And what am I going to be solving for? I need to be solving for x, okay? And I press enter. Oh, I made a mistake. I knew what a mistake I did here. I have to say, I forgot something. Now that I did it here, I have to say this one has to be equal to 0. Why can I not do it? Let me show you. And I'm going to fix it here. What was my mistake, girls? This was my mistake. Sorry, girls. Valentina coming in got me a little bit distracted. So I'm going to do it here to explain something. So I have my equation that is y is equal to negative 3 minus 7x over 2. Okay, fantastic. If I want to find what is the x-intercept, what happens? Y has to be 0, because when it's going to cut the x-intercept, this one has to be 0. So the equation that I need to solve is this one. That's what I did wrong. I didn't put this 0 equal to this, because I have to say what I'm going to do it. So here, 0 equal. This means that you can do it by hand if you want. Yes, you can solve this. I'm not going to do it here because this video is already too long, but you can do it by hand and get to the same answer that I'm going to do here. Perfect. Solve. I got that to the end. Enter. And then x is equal to negative 6 over 7. And that's going to be my x-intercept. And if I have to write it here, then I write it like in exact form, negative 6 over 7, comma 0. If we want to check of what I had before in the graph, then I can press Control Enter and look, negative 0.8571. Let's see, I think it was the 3 digits what I got in the previous one when I did it. There you go, 3 decimal places, and that's what I have in the previous one, in this one. Okay, I hope all this makes sense. Let's just, because I promised in the other one, let's do this one. So where is my equation? Here is my equation. So we're going to find what is my x-intercept here. So how do I do it? Remember that you have to write 0 equals negative 13 over 7x, take away 23 over 7. Let's do it. So solve. 0 equals negative 13. I'm going to write my fraction. So it's negative. Remember that your negative is this one down here. It's not this one. This one is taken away. So this one is your negative. Negative 13 times x over 7 minus, and the other fraction, 23 over 7. Enter. Oh, solve. I forgot to say. Yes, I know what I did wrong. I have to say for what? I'm solving for x. There you go. Negative 23 over 13. So this point here is negative 23 over 13, comma, 0. Okay, and if you count from here to here, hopefully you will get to negative 23. Is that right? What did I do wrong? 13 over 13, so you cannot count here and get to 13 because then you have to separate it in 13 places, and this one is separated into 7 places, so this I have a different denominator. That's why you cannot count 23. Okay, but that makes sense. If I want to know what this value is in decimal, is negative 1.7. So it's one more than 1. Is it more, less than 7? Let's count. Where will be my negative 2? Is it less than negative 2? Sorry. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Yes, here is my negative 2. I cannot draw for some reason. Here is my negative 2. So yes, it's correct. It's between negative 1 and negative 2. Okay, I'm going to shut up now because I have been talking for a long time. I hope you find this useful, girls. Take care.